Hello everyone, Teeny here. I hope you're having a lovely day. Thanks so much for joining me. Well, I have another card project to share with you using the Simon Says Stamp card kit for May 2026. It's called Long Stem Flowers. I had already created a few extra cards earlier during the month, and this is just a bonus card that I had did over on Simon Says Stamp's YouTube channel. So I always like to share it over here on mine. So these are the items that we're going to be using. So we're using cut-aparts, we're using the tags, the beautiful stamp set, a little touch of the metallic cardstock, which is a beautiful rose gold, and then some pattern papers, and a few of the rub-ons here. I am going to bring in a few extras. Simon has the long stem florals coordinating die set. We're going to cut out our floral with the coordinating die set along with our greeting, and then I'm going to bring in some twine and a few embellishments for a little extra sparkle. Okay, today's card is going to be a very simple card. We're doing it in 5 steps. I love doing my cards in a 5-step format because it just makes it easier, and I always like to start with my step 1, which is focal point. So let's go ahead and get started with that. We're going to stamp and color in our flower. We're going to stamp the flower A in our stamp set. I'm stamping on white cardstock. You could very well use the ivory, but we're going to be using ivory in our tags and our background, so I want the contrast between the white. I'm going to go ahead and ink this flower up with my Memento ink. Beautiful flower. Now let's color in our flower really quickly. I'm not worried about the stem portions because it's going to be covered, but as far as the floral goes, I want to stay inside the lines with this. And I'm using Simon Says Stamp's Positively Saturated inks. I have melon and clay. I'm going to start with melon and just using my detail brush, I'm going to add a little bit of color. I'm going to use my darker orange, which is a clay. And I'm just going to add some dark ink here at the base. Now I'm going to bring in my distress crayon that came with our kit this month. And I'm just going to add a little bit of my walnut stain. And I'm just going to rub it in here. Add a little more. I just like to add a little to the base. And then we're just going to rub that in and give this a little bit of a vintage look. Just adding that dark to the bottom really does make a difference. We're going to add a little bit of crayon to our leaves too. And again, we'll just rub these in. And there we go. Let's go ahead and take the coordinating die and cut out our flower. Give my flower a little bit of dimension, I went ahead and die cut out it 4 more times with white cardstock, and we're going to stack these together and create a nice sturdy flower. Since the stems on these are really thin, this is a great way to add a little bit of stability and dimension at the same time. That's part of my focal point. For the rest of it, we're going to bring in some of the pattern paper. There's some cut-aparts in our pattern paper, and I really love this big monarch butterfly. So I'm going to use my scissors, and I'm going to just trim this out. The nice thing about cutting out this butterfly is your imperfections are not going to show up because of the black background. There we go. I am going to use my distress crayon once more, and I'm just going to go over the edges with my crayon. I'm not going to go over the straight edge though. Okay, I'm going to leave that. And then I'm just going to use my finger and just rub it in a little bit. This is going to clean up those edges and add a little extra something, a little extra smokiness to the butterfly. And there we go. I'm using my Positively Perfect Craft glue, but for today's project you could very well use your Collage Media Matte. It's a great glue. Okay, I'm taking my butterfly and I'm going to add a little glue behind the middle here. right down the center. And then I'm going to layer this right over my flower. My focal point is done now, okay? And I mentioned a 5-step process. The next step that I like to use is a landing area for my focal point, just because I like a lot of dimension on my cards, and this is where the squivel tags will come in beautifully. Okay, I'm going to die cut out 2 tags. The third from the smallest, and then we're going to go up 2 sizes, and the 4th from the largest. The 4th from the largest, the 3rd from the smallest, okay? I'm going to die cut out the largest using this pattern paper. We're just going to trim this out. And then with this piece, we're going to die cut this out with our ivory cardstock. I'm actually going to create my card base with this too. For the reinforcement and our squivel tags, I'm going to use the round one, and that's where our rose gold metallic cardstock comes in. I'm going to die cut out some reinforcements here. You really don't need to add a reinforcement to this one because it's going to be covered with our flower. Now we're going to add some extra detail to these tags. We're going to use our transfer sheets or rub-ons, and I like the postage seals here. I'm going to trim out one of them. I'm going to cut this in half. We're just going to kind of stretch it, and then I'm going to add it to one side here of our tag, and then I'll add the other one down here on the bottom. For the larger tag, we're going to be using this distressed portion of our transfer sheet. I'm just going to cut this out. Okay, and then again, I'm going to trim this into 2 pieces. Okay, now we have these in 2 pieces. We can add a little bit of distressed look to our tag here. We'll rub this in. This piece, although it's not going to show up very much, I'm going to add it to our larger tag. Okay. Again, this is a little bit hard to see, but you definitely can see the weathered look of this. After this is done, we're going to add some adhesive. We're going to layer both of our tags together. So about 1/4 of an inch on the left is overhanging. Okay. And then I'm going to take my focal point and we're going to go ahead and glue that to this. Okay, you see the straight edge of our butterfly? That's going to line up here. Tack this down, and I do like to curl up the butterfly wings a little bit for a little extra texture. But you see the straight edges on the edge of my tag here. Now for my 3rd step, I like to create my sentiment. And for today, we're going to stamp and heat emboss on black cardstock the sentiment in our stamp set that says "Just for You." I'm using my Versamark ink here. We're just going to stamp it. And then I'm going to go over it with some white embossing powder. And we'll go ahead and melt it. And then I'll die cut out my greeting here. And there's my greeting. I did pop it up with the foam strip. And this is going to go in the center of my butterfly. But I don't want this to get lost in my butterfly. So to fix that, I'm going to bring back our transfers, or rub-ons. And I'm going to take another one of those postage circles. I'm going to cut it out here. Okay. And I'm going to add this to some vellum. Just going to press this. I'm going to use one of my circle dies and I'm going to cut this out. We have a postage circle that we can put behind our greeting here. And then I can add a little glue behind this. And then we can add this to the center of the butterfly. That way it stands out just a little bit more. For my next step, I'm going to create my background. We're going to be using more pattern paper, make it really simple. I'm just going to trim down a panel of the typewritten paper. I'm going to trim this down to a panel that is 3.5 inches by 4 3/4. Okay, now I do want to add a little extra something to the edges here, so I'm bringing back my crayon, and I'm going really heavy in all 4 corners with this crayon here. This is really fun. And then we just do a little inking on the edges. Kind of darken up those edges a little bit. And then I'm going to place this on an A2 panel of the ivory cardstock that I adhere to the front of my card base. We're just going to use some glue with this. Once we have this adhered, we have one more of those postage circles that we're going to put to good use. Let's go ahead and just trim this out. And I'm going to stretch it. I'm going to cut it in half. Okay, and then I'm going to add 1/2 over here on this side, overlapping, and I'm going to put the other one over here. So step 4 of the formula is all done, which is our background, and now we need step 5 to make this a 5-step process, and it's very easy. We're going to add embellishment. So step 5 means it's the embellishing. I am going to embellish with some twine. The twine I'm using is from Fawn. And we're going to thread our tag here. Okay, and before I tie a bow with it, I did put adhesive behind here. I'm going to line up this straight edge on the edge of this pattern paper. Not only does this add an embellishing touch, it also adds texture, which I really like on my cards. And now to add a little bit of sparkle, I'm using my Simon Says Stamp Assorted Moonshine sequins. And we're going to add a few to our background. And that will finish off my card today using the Simon Says Stamp May 2026 card kit called Long Stem Flowers in a 5-step process, which is super easy to follow, I think. Have a wonderful day. Thanks for joining us. And if you want to check out the kit, it has it listed down below in the description area. Have a wonderful day. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye. Thanks so much for sticking with me to the end. I have 2 more videos that you guys might be interested here. If you guys are new and like the content that you see, click that subscribe button and also the notification bell. That way for future videos, be notified. Also, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. It sure does help the channel. Have a wonderful day. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.